Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and today we're coming at you with This Week in Cannabis News from September 25th to October 1st. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoy this video or you learn something, please just leave a like on it as it really helps out my channel. And of course, if you want to learn how to take advantage of this generational investment opportunity, subscribe below so that you don't miss any future videos, and then there's plenty of content for you to go back, rewatch, and educate yourself with. Try to think of it as a time capsule. I've tried to put all the news and facts in one place so you can watch episodes over time to learn about the evolution of the US cannabis industry, identify top US MSOs that you keep seeing pop up that you think will be worth more in the future than they are now, and take advantage whenever you feel ready, of course, if you wish to do so. But we know that wealth is going to be created when this bull cycle starts again, so you might as well learn how to take advantage so you can make some money for yourself, your family, and your community. And so with that, the big news from this week, confirmed by NBC News at least, so we like to see a mainstream source sharing this, so thank you, Julie Sirkin. Cannabis banking bill passed 14-9 through committee. Senators Loomis, Kramer, and Daines were the only GOP yes votes, while Senator Warnock split the Dems and voted no. And so following that, Majority Leader Shmuck said on the floor he will bring the SAFER bill up for a full Senate vote, and she conveniently left out soon. And so this is the news. We'll get to this in a moment. But interestingly enough, just wanted to show you the Dem that decided to play hardcore drug warrior or social justice warrior in this recent meeting, or not a meeting, I should say, hearing. All that to say is I stumbled upon Raphael Warnock in 2020 when he was one of the Dems that ultimately had the ability to flip Georgia in January and give the Dems the House and the Senate victory in 2020. Now, I was very naive back then, obviously thinking that the Dems would keep their campaign promises right away, and I was riding the euphoria like everyone else. You live and you learn. But after paying attention to Congress for so many years and developing a deeper understanding of how things actually work, you have to learn to laugh at the irony, otherwise it's going to drive you nuts, because what we've seen effectively is this clown now, Raphael Warnock, subbing in for Cory Booker of 2021 and Shmuck of 2022, being the literal obstacles to, social equity entrepreneurs and small mom and pop businesses actually getting a chance in this industry. You can't make this shit up. Let's be clear, as he says in the hearing, the SAFER banking bill will only make life safer for the bankers and businesses. Tell that to all the social equity entrepreneurs and mom and pop shops in New York, New Jersey, all across the country, California, who cannot pay the bills and have to go under because taxes are too high, some of whom have been illegally profiting off cannabis for years. No, you're not talking about legal businesses. So again, this has nothing to do with what the bill's actually going to help, while regular folks sit in jail cells and are using or selling cannabis. And so why has he taken this stance? Well, obviously it gets a little bit more telling once we dive a bit deeper, and it's just pure money. And so we learn that Raphael Warnock is a shill for Big Pharma. While we're being clear, these businesses are already legal. They just want bank accounts. Clown doesn't get that because he's paid to not get it. Large operators are already banked. They have scale to afford it. Forcing billion-dollar businesses to operate in cash only benefits criminals. But you knew that, you Pharma shill. And we can see pharmaceutical donations 2022 top members. Who is at the top of the list getting $770,000? And that's all it costs for him to sell out America. Can you believe that? You think he won a few mil to sell them out? No, not even. And to show you that I'm not bluffing, OpenSecrets.org, you pull it. Well, that was a screenshot. I can refresh the page. 2022, all recipients, no one received more than Raphael Warnock. And I bet you he received all this so that he could be that perceived obstacle along the way. And so all that to say, the good news, though, as he was the only thing that tried to derail the plans, Tom Engel shares, as I relayed, but another story is Shmuck says a committee-passed banking bill has momentum and that he plans to bring it to the floor soon and attach very significant criminal justice provisions. Now, while this sounds annoying because we've heard that anything added will possibly derail it, but of course the HOPE Act is likely what we've expected to fall into that place or be added on. Now, thank you, Do the Right Thing, for sharing this. Has anyone actually read the text of the HOPE Act? Because, surprise, it specifically references giving power to the Attorney General Garland to make grants to the states to expunge low-level cannabis convictions. This sounds a lot like Memo 2.0, and we've heard rumors of this possibly coming out. He says it's all connected. Now, obviously, clicking on this link, I grabbed the PDF to authorize the attorneys general to make grants to states and units of local governments to reduce the financial and administrative burden of expunging convictions for cannabis offenses and for other purposes. So we love to see that. Of course, people are happy to see some more of these breadcrumbs trickle out, however you want to call it, and we're finding it to try and put the pieces together. So just wanted to share that. Seems like the HOPE Act is going to be that criminal justice provision that Shmuck wants to add, and we knew that, but good to see that apparently Cole Memo, Garland Memo 2.0 is included in the HOPE Act. But with that, a couple stories to summarize everything from this past week if you're interested. From Cannabis Business Times. First, SAFER Banking Act approved in committee, signaling major victory for cannabis reform. as the bill survives its first ever Senate markup and now moves to a full vote on the floor of the chamber. So this was updated as of yesterday. I'm not going to spend much time on it because I've essentially given you all the important details, I believe, but so you can pause to read if you're interested. Otherwise, full link is in the description, but just another source sharing the same story to, provide competing perspectives. And thank you, Tom Engel, for adding a bit of detail. As he shared yesterday, 16 hours ago, the Senate Banking Committee has not yet publicly posted the Cannabis Banking Bill amendment it approved during a markup this past week, but Marijuana Moment apparently obtained the text. So thanks, Don Murphy, for sharing this one and providing a bit of perspective, as those changes help pick up a few more Democratic votes despite Warnock, while keeping all three GOP co-sponsors. So we'll take that. Without those amendments, safe banking might have failed to get out of the committee. Really hard threading the needle. We owe Brown and Daines bigly, according to Don Murphy. And so I did include this as well. Here's how the Cannabis Banking Bill was amended during the week's Senate markup or Senate committee markup. So there's a good amount in here, but I believe this, and then the next bit will cover most of it. But this was the biggest one, notable, as the Treasury Secretary would be given 1 year instead of 180 days. Why give them double the time? Give them, 90 days, if anything, to issue updated guidance to financial institutions that work with cannabis businesses that was first released under the Obama administration in 2014. And this is, I believe, is in reference to the Cole Memo. And so the Treasury Secretary now gets 1 year instead of 180 days to update potential FinCEN guidance or uplisting guidance. Again, just that's how I interpret that reading it. Let me know if you know any differently, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But that guidance requires banks, credit unions, and depository institutions to submit suspicious activity reports if they service cannabis industry. So it almost sounds like it gives them a year to issue the Cole Memo, which sounds kind of shitty, honestly. I hope that's not necessarily the case. And based on all the momentum, we think that the Cole Memo will come out sooner with an announcement. But from my understanding reading this, it seems like it gives them 1 year to do that as opposed to 180 days. I'd rather give them fucking 90. And so I think these were some of the other amendments. And otherwise, I don't want to spend too much time to make the video too long. So if you are interested, grab the link. But they should be all included in that article. And so with that, from Blake Wheeler, thank you for this tweet, as he shared this from govinfo.gov, highlighting that basically the Safe Banking Act has officially been filed into a Gov document, reported or placed on the calendar officially as of September 28th, 2023. So this showed up on the Senate calendar of business this morning. Does this mean a scheduled vote is imminent? We'd love that to be we'd love a yes or no answer. But Don says, I'm no expert on Senate procedures, but it's clearly a good sign. Obviously, we want that vote as soon as possible, but that's unfortunately out of our hands now. But just wanted to share this because it's becoming more and more official every day. The first cannabis legislation to be taken seriously, really, that's going to help the industry big time. But with that, from Dennis Rudiv, some notes from investment firms on this recent news as well. So take these with a grain of salt. They've been wrong in the past, but take it in and compare with what you know so that you can make better decisions for your own situation. So this one comes from AGP. SAFER passes banking committee as catalysts continue on cannabis. So thank you, Dennis Rudiv, for sharing these. Otherwise, I wouldn't get access to them and I wouldn't be able to read or share them. But the news, what's next, how the bill currently looks, and reminder of what the SAFE Act does. So of course, you can pause to read. Oh, and then Aaron Gray, I guess he's the writer of it. Don't know why his name got smudged in there and kind of ruined that part. All that to say, next one from Dennis Rudiv, Cannabis Weekly Updates by Echelon. And so this was as of September 30th, actually, as of this morning. Well, I guess he posted this morning, but they were published yesterday. But so Echelon on the news, Safer Banking becomes first federal reform bill to pass a committee in the Senate. Cannabis companies continue to utilize recent rally to tap equity amid higher cost of debt capital. And so more here, U.S. developments, yada, 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 yada. And so pause to read if you're interested. Oh, it seems there's a third one. More here as well, which essentially we're going to cover later on in the video. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But as always, you can pause to read if you're interested, as they're recapping quite a bit in this one. Well, we've got this one from Roth. So thank you, Dennis, for sharing this as well. So again, take it with a grain of salt, but more perspective to compare with what you already know. The sector starts getting momentum globally. Hopefully in 3 to 4 years, daily trading volumes on a global scale will be billions. That would be great. Cross-border M&A activity should go up as well. We obviously don't want to wait that long, but again, from Roth, Consumer Weekly Rehash, lots of info here, so I invite you to pause to read. Don't want to make the video too long. Pause to read part 2 of the Weekly Rehash from Refinitiv Econ and Roth MKM. Third part, pause to read if you're interested. And then last bit from Roth, pause to read as well. This might be tough to see, so you can always grab the links in the comments. And then from GreenWave Advisors, another positive upon rescheduling. I mean, of course, we all know this. Get rid of 280E. These companies actually start working for themselves as opposed to the federal government. Finally, very long overdue. But NOL net operating loss carry forwards at the federal level will come with the removal of 280E. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but essentially trying to paint another clear picture of how removing 280E and the announcement of rescheduling to Schedule 3 could change things very quickly and see a ton of institutional capital flow in just like that. So with that, another one from Dennis Rudev, an update CSE short interest report on selected cannabis players as of September 15th. Not ideal to see, but we know that this has been going on for a long time, and unfortunately it's been a short seller's wet dream for the last 2 years, and we'll get to a little bit more detail on that in a moment. But to verify this as well, we can always go to Shortdata.ca. The site, we have to go to largest short positions, not largest sharp positions, and then click CSE, and hey, what do you know? For whatever reason, the shorts seem to be more and more confident and have almost increased their short positions. Kind of wild, hence why when I see the prices go down a little bit, I'm not concerned because I believe it's shorts and not retail selling. And the other good news just to share is I sent about 500 more of cash that I had into my TFSA, and you best believe I'm going to be averaging down on air on Monday if I get the opportunity to do so. And so because, you know, if I can get them at 330 as opposed to 350, that's me owning them at like 240 million market cap or 230 million market cap. Obviously, the lower I can get them, the happier I will be. But all that to say is, for some more context, shorting MSOs has printed money for the last 2 years. Here is why. And so thank you, Connor Smith, for this intelligent write-up. Lots to learn, especially if you're new to this, although many of us have known this for a long time, as the CSE is the Wild West, and apparently in Canada, naked shorting is not illegal, hence why the Canadian hedge funds have been taking advantage and manipulating for a very long time. You know, this is something I wish I knew more before I started doing these videos. Obviously, had I known this in 2021, I would have loved to have sold at the top, gotten away for 2 years, not paid attention to a single thing, held on to all that cash, and then come back, start with a fresh mindset. But hey, you live and you learn. Hindsight's 2020. All I know is I can try and do that this next time going forward. And the author does a great job of summarizing the predicament that we're in, as due to the ridiculous Schedule 1 status where cannabis never belonged in the first place, a 50-year, extremely costly mistake, so many wrongs to right, and descheduling or rescheduling to Schedule 3 would be the first of it, America has locked liquidity on retail investors while simultaneously blocking institutional capital. And for whatever reason, us Canadians who have access to the CSE almost get a front row seat and get first dibs over Americans, which again shouldn't be right, but hey, I'm North American. I'm going to fucking take it. And all that to say is, well, then what us retail investors don't really know much about or have the resources to compete with, enter big bad hedge funds, enter dark pools, enter Citadel Securities, enter naked shorts. Now, I'm going to go through this slowly so that you can pause to read. Main thing is, of course, I'm not going to go through the whole story. Link will be in the comments down below if you wanted to grab it and, you know, learn what naked short selling is if you don't know what it is, or learn a little bit more about the manipulation that we've been seeing and why the prices have looked like they've been going down for the last 2 years. Citadel Securities and the CSE are in bed, apparently, seems to be the source here. And there was a recent CSE charge against Citadel Securities, so that's nice to see. Now, of course, what we're all waiting for is the eventual big short squeeze, because what goes down also has to come back up eventually. And we know the bulls are waiting to make money off of the bears, and, you know, the bears can only make money for so long, essentially. But main thing I wanted to bring you down to is this last summary down here. Major news events that could move the market in either direction, and it's essentially confirming what we know, number one and number two. But number three, what do we see popping up again? This potential rumor of a Garland memo that could come alongside the Schedule 3 announcement. And so obviously we like to see this more. Keep in mind, main word is could, so don't get your hopes up. But this, along with everything else, we've touched on this, or we're going to get to this later on in the story. So again, full link in the comments if you want to go through that. But we love to see more articles on the potential of a Garland memo. So just sharing this, again, take it with a grain of salt. But MSOS, thank you for sharing this timely one, as AG Garland could easily conclude that a state licensed operator does not need to be registered with the DEA, as it is consistent with the public interest based upon the elements enabling their exemption. This would provide a safe harbor for the tens of thousands of licensed businesses across the country that are all currently operating as unregistered Schedule 1 manufacturers and distributors without really any repercussions. So sounds very positive and a step that could help legitimize the cannabis industry. I'm not going to go through it. All that to say, link is in the description, of course, if you wanted to go through it. But on top of that, just wanted to share this quickly as a second amendment that was added to the SAFER bill, or apparently was passed, that I didn't mention. The bill was amended with technical changes to language on how cannabis-related transactions should not be considered proceeds from an unlawful activity. So I do apologize, I forgot to share this one as well when I covered this, but part of me wants to believe that this might help with the anticipated Garland memo that we're waiting on. So I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments what you think, though. But with that, we got this one from Reach 420. And this one kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm just sharing it because, of course, if I can find more stories related to it in the future, I'll try and tie it in. But according to Reach 420, an update on the Freedom of Information Act request to get the HHS letter leaked to Bloomberg. So, of course, Bloomberg, probably seeing the recent stories that, the HHS or the DEA or Biden admin claims that they never received the letter of guidance. Well, HHS has not responded to the request, so this is not promising. If Bloomberg asked for Freedom of Information Act request to get this letter, they've not responded. Plaintiff now seeks a court order ordering HHS to produce the requested record. So this, I think, is a big deal because we'd love to see this actual letter. And if for whatever reason the letter didn't actually go out, yet we still get all of what the momentum is signaling that we're going to get, that's just another fascinating thing of like, how does this all work? And it does seem to be all connected, yet they're not even following standard government protocol. So what the fuck? So anyways, I just find this fascinating. So far, only Bloomberg journalists have sent the Freedom of Information Act request letter to get that HHS letter to confirm whether it was ever sent out or not. And so do hope to update you on this one, as I find that's interesting. No comments to be relayed. But with that, on to some more good findings from Marijuana Moment, as young adults have significant reductions in cannabis use after legalization. What do you know? Study published by American Medical Association finds. And it appears they were looking at Canada. Young adults who use cannabis frequently before legalization showed significant reductions in use and consequences following the policy change, according to a new study of Canadian data published by the American Medical Association that challenges the widespread worry that ending prohibition will lead to a dangerous rise in cannabis youth use. Fair enough. Now, the only danger we have here is that the Canadian government cannot be trusted at any point right now. And so to trust that the data they've collected is almost tough, as even as a Canadian, just knowing what our government's doing right now and living under that. But I do trust that, the data speaks for itself because legalization hasn't changed anything. And I want to believe this is right because, well, we've seen so many other studies that tell the same thing. I just had to add that for context as a Canadian. But these findings suggest that across Canadian cannabis legalization, high-risk young adults show different patterns of change, wrote the 6-person research team. Fucking right. We love more data that proves this. Those using cannabis frequently pre-legalization exhibited reductions consistent with aging out, and those not using cannabis pre-legalization exhibited modest increases in use over time. And it just highlights that if you make something legal, it doesn't mean everyone's just going to go and start smoking cannabis. Cigarettes are legal. I doubt people wake up and think, I'm just going to go buy my first pack and start, sucking in chemicals. Like, it just doesn't make sense. More here if you wanted to pause to read, but we love to see that, this is the trend with more studies. Authors noted that despite common fears that legalization might lead to higher rates of teen cannabis use, there's a dearth of research focusing on this population. We'd love to see it. And so nevertheless, no, wait, not this one. You can pause to read, but the data, how all this was obtained, yeah. So how they arrived at the conclusions, you can pause here to read if you're interested. Otherwise, full link in the comments. While we've got this one, American Nurses Association officially recognizes cannabis as a formal specialty practice area. Everyone wants it. Time to free the goddamn plant. And so this is just promising to hear from nurses, as of course we know the American Medical Association has already acknowledged cannabis and its medicinal values. Now we've got HHS. Now we've got the DEA even acknowledging it. And so a professional organization representing more than 5 million nurses in the U.S. has announced its formal recognition of cannabis. We love to see it. Said in a press release about the change on Wednesday that cannabis nurses play an important role in providing patients with education and guidance on incorporating cannabis into treatment. So love to see this. More here if you wanted to grab the link in the comments to read through that. While just more and more people wanting the SAFER bill to get passed. And while we know the SAFER bill is a big deal, especially for those who were lied to for so many years by all the Dems and the politicians and regulators in their states, we know that the holy grail is, of course, the rescheduling to Schedule 3 announcement, though. Nonetheless, 22 states' attorneys general call on Congress to pass cannabis banking bill that's heading to the Senate floor. And so not going to spend too much time on this, but just showing that more and more groups, people, organizations, institutions are behind this. Coalition of 22 state attorneys generals is calling on Congress to pass the bill as of Wednesday. And so more here, full link in the comments. On top of that, National Conference of State Legislatures urged Senate to pass much-needed bill. So it's, again, same idea. A group that represents state lawmakers across the country is urging Senate to finally do their fucking job and pass this much-needed solution to make America safer. And they would do this if they actually give a fuck about public health, right? And so we think we're at a tipping point. We'd love to think so after all this time. But folks just sharing that, the momentum continues to build and we're closer than ever. And so with that, an announcement from the DEA this past week, due to the imminent hazard to public safety, DEA temporarily placed 5 synthetic benzodiazepine drugs in Schedule 1. Notice how quickly they can do that when they actually want to act, yet any cannabis recommendations in the past, they're slow as molasses, allowing for administrative, civil, and criminal sanctions. Well, what do you know? At least we can see that they can move quickly. How quickly can, this 90-day requirement for them to respond by apply to them. Let's hope sooner than later. But with that, from Wheat Street 420, an update on cannabis prices. Apparently, in the U.S., surprisingly, a big increase in U.S. cannabis prices this past week, up 6.4% to $1,025 per pound. And so, of course, this fluctuates weekly, but this does seem to be the highest overall per pound we've seen in a long time. Ideally, these numbers were a lot higher when prices were a lot higher before, trillions was printed to save the pandemic ultimately, and now we're seeing the consequences of inflation, too much money supply, prices go down, but hopefully that will even itself out over time, as markets typically do. Of course, if you pass regulations that helps the market so that they're not handicapped with both hands tied behind their back. But all that to say is, as things get more cannabis friendly and decisions are made to help the industry finally, we should see these prices continue to go back up as well. That would be ideal, as if there's less supply, we see more demand, and then the price will increase because of the lack of supply. But with that, Wheat Street 420 sharing this, which is in reference to this research paper published September 21st on SSRN titled "The Role of Small Business in the Evolving Cannabis Industry." Yeah, we know they'd like a role, and we're still waiting on Congress to do their fucking jobs and pass the Safe Banking Act so they can get one. And obviously, there are many small businesses operating across the country that have been able to get through in other markets that don't focus on social equity. But what do you know? Most of the Democratic-controlled states, it's been the Dems' fault. And what's ironic, I find, is that Shalene Title, I recognize the name. She is an activist lawyer who is very vocal in the past about not passing SAFE as it is because we need more to it. Well, I'm sure the authors don't even see the irony in this. And that's the funniest part to me. Because, of course, if you passed SAFE 2.5 years ago, there wouldn't be such a bottleneck and the MSOs wouldn't have such a fucking grip on the industry. No fucking shit. It's basic economics 101. So all that to summarize, in 2018, the 7 largest MSOs accounted for just 3.2% of the industry's annual sales. And by not passing SAFE and screwing over all these small mom and pop shop and social equity entrepreneurs, especially in New York and New Jersey, and throwing those markets under the bus by promoting social equity, equal outcomes to everyone becomes equally poor, no one gets a chance except the MSOs. We're now, in the reality is that by the end of 2022, the 7 largest MSOs now account for 17.6% of annual industry sales, right? They gain more market share because they can operate where small businesses can't. You cannot make this shit up. Just thought this was so funny. And obviously these authors, who are complete activists, idealists, probably not practical or realists, it's beyond them. And they still think, maybe the MSOs are probably to blame. No. Pass the Safe Fucking Banking Act. But with that, on to MSO news from Revelation Partners LP. For those worried about dilution in light of the run-up, this raise by Curaleaf equates to dilution of 0.375%. I think that's very promising for any potential Curaleaf shareholder to hear, as Boris Jordan was true to his word that this is purely for the TSX uplisting. Additionally, it was done at no discount to yesterday's close. And so I encourage any of you that are interested to grab this link below in the comments. I mean, this essentially summarizes it. Boris did announce a $16 million underwriting offering at $6, but it's because the news that they are uplisting to the TSX. And so, of course, that's going to be a big deal. But a requirement to uplist to the TSX is a small sort of raise like this. And so no discount. Think about that. That's very important as well. He's not offering a discount to whoever he's raising these funds to, giving them the same price that retail would get. And then I just find this hilarious is you have a standard person on Twitter that just, doesn't know what they don't know, saying, Boris, what the fuck? Curaleaf, just weird to say, no, you're not doing something, then turn around and do the exact same thing. And then he says, I specifically said we would raise the required amount mandated by the TSX to uplist to the TSX. And so, hey, Boris, being a man of his word, and no one should be surprised by this. As he mentioned, 0% chance Curaleaf does dilute raise of capital for general corporate purposes, right? That's not for it. This is for the TSX. Would only be for material acquisition. A small raise is mandatory to uplist on TSX as a procedural motion, and it would be less than 2%, I would assume. And hey, we see Boris keeping his word. less than 2%. So we like to see that at least, instilling some confidence alongside Jay Wild, who continues to average down and buy shares of TerraSem. But with that, Verano to report third quarter 2023 financial results on November 8th, 2023. So I believe this is the first US MSO to announce their third quarter earnings date. So we love to see this. Will be starting in November, and this will be before the market opens for Verano at least. And so, of course, I will keep you updated when we get this from more MSOs. We got this video from CNBC, and while it's been a minute since I've played anything from CNBC, mainly because I haven't come across anything worth playing, I'm going to play this full thing and just note a lot of the talking points that some of these broadcasters make. You'll notice maybe they've been watching my channel and they got a lot of points from there. Or they're finally being told, the truth and real talking points that are, really about to happen that I've been covering for some time. Let's check it out.
All right, everybody, don't look now, but 3 U.S.-based cannabis companies are actually higher on the year. Curaleaf is up fractionally, Green Thumb's up 28%, and Verano's up 52%, although they're both still well off their 52-week highs. The Senate Banking Committee just wrapping up a vote on key legislation for the industry. Jane Wells joins us now with that story. Jane?
Hey, Kelly, yeah, they approved this bill, and this action by the Banking Committee is a huge step forward for an industry that is legal in one form or another in more than half the country.
This bill is about public safety first and foremost.
The SAFER Banking Act allows the estimated $33 billion state legal cannabis industry to finally have bank accounts at major banks that are federally chartered. They can get loans, mortgages, buy insurance. This remains a mostly cash business, which creates all kinds of safety challenges. Curaleaf sells over $1 billion of cannabis a year, and founder Boris Jordan hopes this law will finally allow
the UK former Prime Minister. That'd be huge.
That obviously would be a boost to the sector, because usually when credit cards are allowed, it's about a 25% boost to almost any industry. It's the analysis that our people, as well as other industry experts, have come up with.
Senator Chuck Schumer says he's going to bring the bill to the floor of the Senate for a full vote as quickly as possible. But the industry
Senate Majority
thinks
Leader,
its passage could be bigger than banking. It could lead to more investment.
Right now, it's essentially impossible for institutions to own stock in the largest U.S. operators in cannabis, and passing legislation like this should lead to that possibility.
You heard that anywhere?
Now, the stocks have lit up in the last month after the Biden administration asked the DEA to reclassify marijuana as something less dangerous. If that happens and the banking bill passes, maybe the IRS will finally let these marijuana businesses have normal business deductions like payroll. They can't right now. And Kelly, that tax change for Curaleaf alone would mean $170 million more cash flow. And for a Green Thumb, it means $50 million. Back to you.
Although, Jane, if I'm not mistaken, the industry seems to almost be evolving past cannabis, as we've had a couple of high-profile deals diversifying into craft beer and you name it.
They're not American.
Is that because they gave up hope about this legislation, or because the larger economics are more challenging than they expected?
Completely different market.
Oh, I think you want to diversify your revenue streams, especially when you can't make normal business deductions and you're dealing with cash in a large portion of your business.
Again, not a U.S. company.
Kelly, we're talking about, it's been 11 years since Washington and Colorado legalized recreational cannabis, 27 years since California legalized medical cannabis, and they're still not able to go to Bank of America and have a savings account and get a loan.
Interesting. Jane, thank you so much.
It's the biggest form of discrimination alive today, I would say. Blatant, and goes without notice, or for whatever reason, no one's held accountable. People don't seem to care. It's very sad. But with that, from BNN Bloomberg, Industry Insider's Trulieve CEO Kim Rivers, latest on U.S. cannabis regulation. It's another longer 6-minute video. This is the one in reference. I'm not going to play it just because it's very long, but this link will be in the comments if you want to go through it, if you want to hear what Kim has to say. But a lot of what she says was either covered in her spaces she did a few weeks back, or I've kind of covered it in my videos over time. And so with that, from the Office of Medical Cannabis Use, looking at Florida for this past week, during the week of September 25th to the 29th, no new dispensaries were opened. But if we look at the qualified patient count, there was a jump this week up to 848,942, which represents a week-over-week increase of 2,357 patients. We love to see that jump back up finally above the 2,000 week-over-week mark. If we scroll down to dispensations for this past week, we can see all the MSOs operating in the state of Florida. The number of active dispensaries dispensaries they have in operation. And then for this past week alone, the number of milligrams of THC sold, milligrams of CBD sold, and ounces of smokable flower sold. All medical, of course, as Florida is still medical only. And this is again for this past week. And thank you, Connoisseurs.io, for making this easy and providing a nice visual for us to take this information in as well. So of course you can see quickly flower, THC, and CBD market share leaders down here. With qualified patient count and qualified physicians that are able to prescribe cannabis medically in Florida. And then for the visuals, of course, ounces in sales, if you wanted to pause to read. THC sales by milligrams, pause to read. CBD sales by milligrams, you can pause to read. And then, of course, the total dispensary locations. We've got this one from Connoisseurs.io, and just wanted to share it because it's a prime example of how you do not create a bottleneck in your industry, and you provide equal access to opportunity to those people and citizens in your state, not just social equity entrepreneurs, but everyone, not equal outcomes, equal access to opportunity. And ultimately, it is the best for everyone, providing the most possible jobs, the most possible tax revenue, and the potential to give back the most. As now in New Mexico, there are 1,021 cannabis dispensaries, and only about 37 are owned by publicly traded company Schwazy. And so just highlighting how many of these are likely locally New Mexico owned. The opportunities for M&A and consolidation in the cannabis industry are endless. Imagine what happens when big money can enter the space. But if you just compare this, we're going to get to New Jersey in a moment, but just the amount of New Jersey has less than 100 dispensaries, and New Jersey's got 8 million people. I don't know how many people New Mexico has offhand, but we know New Jersey likely is way more, yet New Mexico's got 10 times the dispensaries. Make this make sense, right? And so just sharing that, as that's fascinating, but it's just highlighting how you do it right. We're seeing Michigan do it right, Missouri, Maryland's starting to do it right, New Mexico's doing it right. Open up legal dispensaries. End the bottleneck. And so with that, from Marijuana Moment, Rhode Island cannabis sales set record for 4th consecutive month. Love to see. I think this was first published on Monday, but sales in Rhode Island set another record in August, with total receipts exceeding 9.67 million for the 4th consecutive month. And so adult use sales, which launched December 2022, have consistently grown since the legal market opened. Again, when you provide legal access, people want it. In August, non-medical purchases totaled more than 7 million. Medical cannabis sales, however, which were just 2.6 million last month, have generally declined over the same period. Well, this tells you a little bit more about the breakdown of the medical sales. It's just the reality that we see when rec becomes legal. Medical patients just go to the rec dispensaries because cannabis itself is the medicine. And as long as you're getting access, you're getting what you need. And so 9.47 million total in July, and that was surpassed by 9.67 million in August. So we love to see that. Well, from Dennis Root, I have an update out of New York, apparently from Opus. Looks promising. Take that with a grain of salt, but just sharing what we know now. As of right now, 18 legal storefronts only and 5 delivery-only options. 2.7 million annual cannabis consumers. I'm sure the 8,000 illicit stores are taking a lot more sales than these 18 overpriced ones. Recent market developments. Pause to read if you're interested, or grab the link because this part here might be blocked off. And so New York is the worst possible outcome of a market because we have, of course, incompetent regulators putting their Marxist views as opposed to what works in business, building industries from the ground up and providing equal access to opportunity. But anyways, hopefully there's some room for improvement. Now, you can't see this here most likely, so I'll just read it. The average dispensary has generated average daily revenue of $26,000, average monthly revenue of $800,000, average annual revenue of $9.6 million. And I'm imagining these are the few legal ones open. And so, of course, if they had, more or prices weren't so high and there weren't 8,000 illicit stores, these prices or these numbers would all be higher too. That just goes without saying, right? And so, interesting graphic here. Seems to be their timeline that they're proud of celebrating that they've followed like idiots. Either way, from Brad Rosino, the head of New York's Cannabis Advisory Board, said the group needs a staff and budget to function properly, and noted the board hasn't been as involved with the state's legal weed rollout as the cannabis law prescribes. New from Sean Thehan, and all that to highlight how big of a clown show and shit show New York has been, why we need major changes, and we need to essentially just gut the entire Office of Cannabis Management, probably the mayor, get rid of Hochul, get rid of any of these incompetent Marxists that have done this on purpose, and replace them with, I don't know, hopefully American-loving, God-fearing individuals with talent and a track record for growing things as opposed to driving them into the ground. I don't know, but if you wanted to read more about the shit show, New York's Cannabis Advisory Board admits it hasn't been doing its job. Oh, that could be one of the million reasons why it is such a shit show, but again, Lots of changes needed, but New York, lots of potential once this change has been fixed. Thank God there are 49 other states, and we're not relying on that one. But all that to say, from Christopher Norman out in New Jersey, again, remember what I said about New Mexico and their 1,021 dispensaries? Well, at the beginning of Q3, New Jersey had 47 cannabis dispensaries. At the end of Q3, that number is now 64. Couple that with Maryland adult use starting for 101 dispensaries, already more than all that exists in New Jersey combined. Again, New Jersey, open more stores. Q3 could provide best results since Cannabis Bear started for these MSOs. And I imagine that they will. And going forward, markets opening up, the timing is just, it couldn't be better. Things are on the up and up, which is promising for us looking at Q3 results going forward. Thank you, Jason Wald, for chiming in. You'd think, right? We definitely do. And then with that, an update out of Ohio, as 3 in 5 Ohio voters support legalization measures ahead of November election, the poll finds, which is a big deal. Obviously, it would make more sense for Ohio to have this vote in 2024, an election year most likely, as opposed to an off-election year. That's certainly a risk they're taking, but it seems like they're going to, have this pass, which we're all hopeful that it will, and we're assuming that it most likely will based on the number of support that it's got. 60% saying in a poll that it will pass leads us to believe we're going to get that same sort of outcome come November. But there's always the risk that if we don't, could you put the blame on the fact that they tried to do this in 2023, an off-election year as opposed to 2024? Most likely. All that to say, the poll shows that when it comes to cannabis, Ohio voters' opinion is clear. I feel confident we'll see that in the election results. And so more on this if you want to check it out, but I believe it was like 59 said yes versus 35 just said I don't know. I'm sure a lot of that 35% was maybe yes or no. They just didn't want to answer, honestly. Not sure, but with that, out of Cleveland.com, though, more on why Ohio ought to legalize for adult use. Well, many incentives wreck cannabis besides jobs and legal tax revenue. New study estimates up to $218 million of tax revenue in the first full year of sales. And so, yeah, do the people in charge want $218 million of extra possible money to play around with? I imagine they would. And so when you frame it in that sort of way, this whole sort of evolution towards ending prohibition, as we should have done a long time ago, makes a lot more sense. And unfortunately, this is behind a paywall, so we're stopped right here. But with that, wanted to share this interesting tweet from H.L. Mencken. I don't support the real H.L. Mencken. He was a terrible eugenist, but this person apparently uses his identity as a satire, so fair enough. All that to say is he makes a really good point, because Nats Fertig, we're starting to see more and more clickbaity shit out of her, and coming from Politico, which is annoying because we want to see journalism, we don't want to see propagandists, but she's going to write whatever she's told to write by her editors. And so again, is she a journalist or is she a propagandist at this point? But we thank her for the work she's done, but we don't thank her for some of these articles. The cannabis policy reform movement has become a proxy war for other interests, said longtime advocate Justin Streekel. I thought you were supposed to be for cannabis, founder of the Better Organizing to Win Legalization PAC. It's really frustrating to be in the middle of this. Yeah, how about you get out of the identity politics game and just be a fucking stud and do what you got to do to speak to the right people and get cannabis legalized. Stop buying into this clickbaity shit that no one cares about. Because as H.L. Mencken pointed out, SAFER is the political theater. All that really matters at this point is Schedule 3. And so we want SAFE, again, for all those that were lied to by the Dems, all that were promised that opportunity that have not gotten it. They should get the equal access to opportunity, but the Schedule 3 thing is the biggest deal. That with the Garland memo and safe passing, holy grail would be fantastic. So a few comments for perspective in case you're curious or interested. But with that, we did get this news near the end of the week, 20 hours ago, from Marijuana Moment. Bill to legalize cannabis in Germany advances after state reps failed to block it. That's very promising. Again, you could make this headline a little bit different. After state reps fail to block it. After state reps succeed in advancing it. It's just, of course, the tone always. But good news, opponents of a proposed bill to legalize cannabis in Germany did not muster enough support to block the measure in legislative body representing states, meaning it will now continue through the process. Awesome. So our first update, this bill that would potentially see cannabis removed from their narcotics list January 1st, 2024, as per Boris Jordan, as he's told us this. Seems like that can only happen if this bill makes it through and, is approved eventually. And so first step, we'd love to see that. Now, this is another article on it. Of course, you can grab the link and read through this whole thing if you're interested, but I found this one summarized it a little bit better. I've translated it, though, so the English might not be great. All that to say, it's as of yesterday. The the Bundesrat has called on the federal government to make improvements to the draft law on cannabis legalization. In the current version, a structural enforcement deficit in the control of the provisions is to be expected, according to a majority statement adopted by federal states. Among other things, they call on the federal government to regulate control and enforcement tasks in such a way that they do not require additional personnel and finances. So trying to possibly restructure things without having it cost more. More here as well, excuse me, calls for traffic accident prevention measures. Well, it'd be good for them to know that in Canada and legal states, driving under the influence actually goes down. Driving under the influence of alcohol does, and driving under the influence of cannabis probably remains the same. But on top of that, health and youth protection concepts. Yeah, fair enough, yada, yada, the same stuff politicians will always, hill for them that they can at least see themselves dying on. But all that to say is, interestingly enough, loss of control with an announcement. Well, this is, I guess, the opposition party. Thank God they don't have power anymore. But we're hearing Saxony-Anhalt's Prime Minister Rainer Hasselhoff criticize the legislative plan as a whole. Legalization was wrong, and the plan implementation was a single disaster. Actually, the data tells you otherwise. Actually, it's just funny to point that out to them. He fears that consumption will continue to rise. Young people would not be protected from drug use. Actually, when you end prohibition, it does protect them from more use. Requirements and control tax are not practical. It's just hilarious, the FUD that continues to be printed and shown. But hey, the main win and takeaway is that it has moved past its next hurdle and will continue. So we'll update you. Well, I just wanted to share this video. Safe banking bill will catalyze cannabis financial partnerships, says Green Checks Kevin Hart. Not worth playing for you or anything. I'm just sharing this essentially because it's going to be part of the links below. Another CNBC television interview, basically with some guy that I've never heard of that has ties to the cannabis industry, talking about why he's so happy about this and why it will catalyze and be very beneficial for more industries, as once SAFE passes and this is all normalized, other industries can finally get in without feeling they can be targeted by the IRS or by the feds or anything like that. And so that link will be in the comments, of course, to go through that. Well, from MJ Stock Trader, this was as of September 27th. After the safer banking pass, where do we go from here? Live with Don Murphy. So he spaces with Don Murphy and MJ Stock Trader. Of course, Don Murphy is a DC lobbyist, and he's been very vocal, and we appreciate all the work he's done in helping keep us up to date with what's happening. But the markup was successful. Where do we go from here? You can grab this to tune in if you're interested. I do believe I listened to some of it, and it was informative. But, it's not really anything that we don't know that I've covered in here, but always worth listening to for the perspective. And then last one from MJ Stock Trader. I appreciate this man for keeping this community together during these troubling times. He's done a much better job than I could. Either way, all that to say is his Cannabis Stock Talk, which he usually hosts on Fridays. This is a recording from yesterday, 1 hour long. And link will be in the comments. And portfolio update for anyone that might have skipped through the short data snippet where I highlighted that a little bit. But on Friday, I sent about $500 more what I had in my account before I get paid again, so that I can average down on Air Wellness again on Monday. And while I mentioned in my last week's video, I was super happy to get them at $350, of course, thinking that from that point on with the news, maybe we're not going to see $350 again. Well, the shorts have not stopped. That's what's very apparent. And so for me, I'm very happy sending that in because first thing Monday morning, I'm going to try and average down. I know that at about $3.50, my share price, I own all my shares of Air Wellness at a market cap valuation of about $255 million. If I can get that market cap valuation down to $250, $240, $230, $225, by averaging down at these discounted prices when I get the chance, even better. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I just wanted to share with you because that's me being transparent, and hopefully that's some perspective that can help you compare with what you already know and make better decisions for yourself. But again, this is not advice, just sharing. But that is it for today's episode, folks. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Really hope you got some value out of it. What did you think of the stories mentioned? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'd be happy to address them. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, please just leave a like on it. Subscribe below if you don't want to miss any future videos, and I'll catch you next week for This Week in Cannabis News. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.